anybody's hanging out, sound off, say hello. Who's that one other viewer? I see you, but I don't know who you are. I want to hear me. There we go. How's it going, everybody? What's up, Evgeny? We're going to hang around a little bit, chit-chat, jibber-jabber until it's time to get rocking and rolling. Give everybody a couple of minutes. I know the stream schedule is 10. Speaking of coffee, here we go. Bump down just a little bit. Hey, now we in business. Okay. As we get ready to get going, we're going to talk a little bit about what it is we've been doing, what we're aiming towards here. So, we talked on the first stream kind of about the overall concept of what we're doing here. And that was 2 weeks ago, and what we started with was just looking at, we're going to take a song in a band from 0 to 100% ready for tour. We've got a lot of stuff to cover, and that's going to take a bunch of time, and it's going to be as informative as I can make it for you guys. So we're going to be talking about designing. We're going to be talking about working in CAD. In our case, we're using WYSIWYG. We're going to be talking about programming in MA. We're going to be talking about how to set up Reaper to do the time code into MA so we can time code our show. We're going to talk about planning how this thing's going to go on the road. It's not just about can it look cool in our 3D environment. We have to take it on the road. We have to put it in trucks. In our case, we're planning for a small to mid-sized show, so we have to figure out how it's going to fit with all the other gear that a band brings along. We're going to talk about how to prep it. We're going to talk about how to plan and run your cables. We're going to talk about all of it, because once we get going again here, running shows, hopefully, fingers crossed, soon as we can get this vaccine rolling out, we'll be able to start, maybe putting concerts on again. There's going to be a lot of new guys, and I want you guys to be as informed and as ready to rock and roll as the guys like me who have been sitting and stuck. So that's the whole point. Last week we talked to David Brown from the band Sweettalker. That's the band and song we're using is a song called Goodbye by Sweettalker. And we talked to David about what kind of concept he wants to see, stuff he likes, stuff he doesn't like, what he had in mind in his head when somebody said, hey man, you can have lights for your show. So that's what we talked about last week. And then we got into the basics of the design. Today we're going to jump in a little bit more into the design stuff. We're going to look at the overall stuff we're going to do. We're going to talk a little bit more about how we're going to organize and plan. So we are going to get into all of that good business. And we're going to wait just a couple more minutes. It's 3 after 10. I'm going to give it another 5-ish, and then we'll get started. That's the plan. So if you're here hanging out, thanks for joining. If you're watching the VOD and the playback later, thank you for watching. Appreciate you guys. Down below, if you could for me, hit the like button. Let me know you enjoyed it or not. Get subscribed. I'm doing these streams every Saturday from here until it's done. We may or may not take a week off for Christmas, but I'm not sure yet. So, once again, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for watching all the videos I've been putting out lately. It's been cool to see the feedback and see all the response. So, kudos to y'all. And we're gonna get rocking and rolling here in just a few minutes. And once we really dig in, I'm gonna be looking at the chat every now and again. So if you're in here watching, drop questions in the chat. That's the place to do it. It says down below, an active chat is a happy chat. I like seeing you guys talking. I love talking about this stuff. I love showing folks how to do things, and there's nothing like it for me. So any questions you've got, anything about lighting, anything about MA, wig, whatever, we're gonna jump in and we're gonna do all this stuff. And sip of coffee time, because coffee. And in case you're curious, I do in fact have the squeakiest chair in the history of squeaky chairs. Christian's ASMR squeaky chair ain't got nothing on my squeaky chair. It's the best slash worst slash best again. Time to put a little blast out. I think everybody who's wanting to be here is here. So let's just jump in and knock it out. All right, so let's pull up the good old WYSIWYG. All right. So when we started with the design, we wanted to keep things simple. So we wanted to keep things on pipes. We wanted to keep things loose. We wanted to be economic about our fixture choices. We wanted to get a lot of things where we could get a lot of things done within the scope of, we also want to put on a cool show, but we got to light the money. So to that end, one thing we did not get into last time is getting some extra things on the floor. So we're going to look at that now, because we've got this whole back package, which I think looks pretty cool. Let me lose the band right quick. If I lose the band, there we go. So just to recap kind of what we've been talking about, what we've been getting into. We've got a bunch of quantum profiles on the floor. We got a few quantum profiles up in the air. We've got some X4s here that are going to do well for rear silhouette lighting. So we're going to be able to silhouette in color, which is going to be super critical for these guys. They want to see a lot of color. And then these fixtures here that are yellow are Aura XBs. That's the extra bright, if you're not super familiar with Aura. So that's kind of what we're looking at now. And then here on the floor, we've got a bunch of Chauvet Strike 1s. That's going to end up being a really good blinder fixture from the rear so that we can do some more silhouetting. So for example, if I pull this band up, We're gonna go to shaded view here, just so you can kind of get a look-see. We're gonna take the ambient light down, and we're gonna add in some of that stage just so you guys can see it. So we're gonna add in the roof, the walls, the wings. Cool. So here's our stage. Everything is handy. So the point with those strike ones in particular, if I select our strike ones, they're gonna highlight, and it's gonna take a second to figure out that it's, oh, it needs to be in good quality. Right. So there you go. That's kind of the idea here. We're able to get a lot of silhouette lighting on our band. We're able to get cool looks that way. And that's kind of the point of those fixtures, is to give us that, you know, from the floor, you know, making the band larger than life, which is critical. So we're going to jump in and we're going to keep looking at some more stuff we can do to help light the money. One of the things we can do is side lighting. Side lighting is super important for me. I'm not the biggest fan of having a gigantic, massive front of house truss. I've got it in my template because every venue's got it. So if I pull up my template truss, there's my big old front of house, you know, truss with all the washes and spots and blinders and all the things you expect to see. But again, as we talked about in a prior stream, you can't always rely on having those. Sometimes they're just not going to be there. Not every venue has great, you know, pre-hung lighting packages, and we have to learn how to deal. And one of the ways we can do that is by not relying on the house package for the meat of our show. We can do side lighting. We can get creative with front lights. We can do all this stuff that we can bring it in ourselves and be able to control it in a way that we like. And then if they have, you know, extra lighting up in the air, extra lighting at the front of house truss or front of house pipe or whatever, then great. It's fantastic. The show will be better for it, but it's not necessary. So we're gonna add some auras on the floor down this way, probably three or four on either side here, just to make sure we can get light on our act. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. We're currently on our aura layer here. So if I wanted to change it, I'd double click on that little, where that check mark is, and you can select that whole section. So that's good news. And let's start placing auras. So we know we're working with Aura XB, so we're gonna go to our library browser. We've already defaulted into the fixture browser. So we're gonna select Aura XB, hit enter. There's the Mac Aura XB. So we gotta do a couple of things here. We wanna put this on the floor, but we know, because we've talked about it before, that our floor is not at 0, because while the ground is at 0, the stage deck is at 6 feet high. So let's go ahead and add that in as our missing coordinate. So we're gonna put 6 feet. And then you don't just double click and hang fixtures. You see, we can't hang our fixtures here. We're gonna hit A to abort, right click on the Mac Aura XB, insert on floor. Pow. Now we can put it where we want it. So one of the first ones I wanna do, I wanna make sure we can get some light on our talent. So in this case, talent being our lead singer. So we're gonna put it just a little bit ahead of him. He's going to wander around stage, do all the things, but we want to have the ability to really focus in on our singer. So we're going to put one there. We're going to do another one. Let's see, where do we put that? We put that at 2'6". We're just going to place some random guys here. We're going to go 2. We're going to evenly space them so that it's not... everything looks right here. We're going to go 15, 6. So let's see, we're 2'6", 6'6". This should be 10'6". I've got it at 11 and 15'6". So we're gonna move these around a little. Select here. We're gonna make this guy at 10'6". Not 110. 10'6". Boom. He's going to move down just a little bit. And so we know we're working at, I believe it is 2'6" increments. So that, or 4 foot increments. Sorry. So that's 6'6", 10'6". This needs to be at 14'6". Right now it's a foot too high. 14'6". There we go. So now we've got 4 fixtures on the floor that are going to give us the ability to light up our act. And we need to mirror that over to this side. So we're going to do exactly that using our mirror command. So we're going to select the fixtures we want to mirror. Control W is our mirror function in WYSIWYG. Click the first point, click the second point, and it's going to mirror around that axis. So we're choosing 0 because we want to be exactly mirrored. But you can set it anywhere else, and you can do kind of funky mirrors, and you can have it do all kinds of weird stuff. Play around with it. You can have a lot of fun. But we're just going to do 0, 0. Boom. Now we've got 4 fixtures mirrored 100% exactly to where that is. So now if we go to our shaded view, and let's say we select these auras. Wow, there's a lot of them. So you can see we've got auras here on the sides to match our auras that we've got on our pipes. And then as we get into the process of moving them around, and we'll use design view to start so that we can get a good look at what they can be, and then before we jump into MA and actually program it all out. One of the things I prefer to do is to make a look or two just in WYSIWYG using the design view, so that I'm able to get one quick render, capture an image, be able to send it off to the client. Hey man, here's what it could probably look like, and they can say, oh, that's awesome, or no, that's terrible. Either way, we're being able to communicate better with our client, and we're able to get closer to the actual realized goal of a really good lighting show that everybody's happy with. One of the things, and just you're gonna have to kind of feel out your artist and kind of figure out what it is they want to see and what they want to do. So like we talked about, some artists just don't care. Say, hey man, do some dope lights. If you're fortunate and work hard enough and talented enough for the artist to trust you implicitly and say, you know what, man, I know what you're gonna do is gonna be bomb. Don't sweat it. Do your thing, bud. That's great. That's the best. And a lot of times some artists want to be more not in control, but they want to be more they want to be involved. One of the things about designing the light show for a band like this is that you're also, your design is representing them as a person, representing the band as an entity, and they want to be involved in controlling their brand, as they should be. That's great news. So you want to get them involved, and you want to be able to talk to them about what they do, so that they can have input, so that they can have the experience of building the show with you, and that's a good thing. There's a school of thought that says the lighting designer should be the lighting designer and the band should be the band, and I'm not of that mind. I want to hear from my artist. I want to hear from the act about what they thought in their head, and I don't mean like, hey, lead singer who doesn't know the lighting technology, who just wants to be at the thing. I'm not. Hey, what fixtures do you want? No, that's not what I'm talking about. What's the feel? What's the vibe? Do they want a big expansive set where the show is everywhere and it's bringing the whole thing, and the band is just there to be performing and to be playing music for this big sensory experience? Or do they want to have a thing, hey, we want to be surrounded, we want you to pull focus on us, we want the band to be the star of the show? And that is very much that's very much a personal choice for the artist, and you've got to know what they want to do in that case. In the case of Sweettalkers, we were talking to David Brown last week. They want to be the show. So we are going to surround them with the show and make sure at all times that show is bringing focus onto these guys. So we've got our lights in this big arc around the back of the band, and then we've got our 4 here pointing in at the band so that we're able to see them, we're able to wash them up. So let's talk a little bit about some of the choices we made when we did our initial design plan after talking to David. So we know we wanted to do pipes. We know that when we planned this, we planned the show. We're planning this for a tour, so it's not a one-off show where sky's the limit. You know, whatever you can shove into, you know, your production company's box truck and get onto site, and you can make 3 trips if you need to. We're not doing that. This show is meant to be shoved into either one box truck with audio, with backline, with merch, or 2 bus trailers. Bus trailers are typically 14 feet long, 8 feet wide. If you're lucky, 8 feet tall, usually 7 and a bit. And sometimes even smaller. Kind of depends on the bus company and what trailers they have. So we have to think about that. So to that end, our pipes are 10 feet high. You need to have room for stuff on the ground in your trailer. So you know, or if you're able to do something up above, what's called making a attic out of load bars. So what I mean by that is at the very top of your trailer, you would set 2 or 3 load bars that you can sneak under. So you can push all the gear you want underneath, but it makes just a little bitty, you know, channel up in the top. And you can put your pipes up in there, strap them to the wall, and it gets everything out of the way. It's totally dependent on how you're able to fit things in the trailer. You know, if you're going for maximum efficiency, you know, that's a good idea. If you're, you know, it's totally up to you and your crew and your stage manager. Typically, your stage manager is also going to be in charge of your trailer on a smaller, you know, bus and trailer tour like we're talking about. You know, and sometimes it's up to the department heads or the crew chiefs. You know, it's gonna that role of who's in charge of what's in the trailer is gonna change. For my last tour, which was a 2-bus 2 trailer tour, our stage managers were the gods of the truck. They ran our trailers, and they did a damn good job of it. Shout out to Casey Sproat and Nick Scrivens. On some of the on the last the shed tour I did last summer with OAR, the trailer was mine. They're a super cool act, and their thing is, hey man, design your light show. You know, we're gonna be involved in the light show, but your limit is you have 2/3 of one trailer. That's what you have to fit your rig into for us to take it on the road, which is an interesting way of limiting your design. Obviously, I'm not, you know, then going, oh, how can I put $1 million in that? No, but it's no longer a thing of like, hey man, you've got to keep it under X dollars. You've got to keep it under X feet. And that's a super cool thing for an artist to do. Even though it's limited. Like, obviously, you've got limitations on what you can do at that point. But it's also at least the way I see it, it's a sign of trust between the artist and me, and I'm super, super grateful for the guys to do that. And you know, then you plan accordingly. So in this case, we're doing 10 feet. We know, let me pull the band out of here again so we can look at the whole thing without any stuff in the way. We're going to take the band away. Bye, band. So, we've got these quantum profiles on the floor. The idea of those, don't you think the screen is too big for some? What do you mean by the screen? I'm not sure what you're talking about when you say screen here. Evgeny, clarify that one for me if you could in chat. So we've got quantum profiles here on the floor. Those are, let's see if I can see if I can make this a way we can look at it. I'm going to select a main, so I don't have to be looking at things. We're going to turn off fixtures. Actually, I can totally turn off auras and turn off the pipes. There we go. And if I turn the band back on, and we go to, let's go to design view just so we can start peeking at it. So here's our design view. This is our show. Select by type. We got quantum profiles. We're going to set them to full. We're going to set them to 50%, and then we're going to pan them in, or tilt them down, so that we're able to get these kind of looks image up here, and then we can do, you know, awesome gobos up in the air. Let's pick this here, that one. So we can do cool gobos like that. We can rotate them, we can spin them. You know, you can do all that kind of stuff. That's the whole point there. That's what those get me. And it's not just, because I could also use them just like I would with the strike ones and get this kind of silhouette thing. But you can get the silhouette and then also, you know, get narrow, send them up, and have stuff up in the air. We can fan them from center, pan them out. Oh, we're going to do, well, that's a silly order. Yeah. Oh, look at all these funny things. It's because of the way we grouped them. They're identicals. So that's kind of the whole point of that. That's what those are doing there on the ground. And let's go back to our CAD so we can look some more. So we're going to turn everything back on, turn our band back off. So I've been looking at this. Again, if you're thinking about screen, are you talking about this right here, this big guy in the background? And when I go to shaded view, it's this whole thing here. If that's what you're talking about by screen, that is not getting used as a screen in our case. I'm using a surface in WYSIWYG to mock up a backdrop. That in this case, it's just going to be a soft good backdrop that gets hung at the beginning of the day. It's in the back. I pulled this image right off their Facebook page because I don't know what their actual backdrops or anything, if they have them, are. So I just took something so that I can have a representation of what would be a backdrop. If you go onto a festival stage, when you have a backdrop like that and you go to, say, a festival, have your backdrop available and ready to hang, but also have a USB key with the highest resolution possible of your file. That is the image of your backdrop. So that if you get into a place that has an LED wall already installed, you can go, hey man, here's the USB key. This is our backdrop. Go ahead and toss that up there. And then you've got the big bright LED screen instead of your backdrop, you know, and if you're into that kind of thing, which sometimes I am, you got that too. So what else do we have here? We've got a bunch of wash fixtures. These are auras up in the top here. This is to get, you know, just some colors. It's meant to get color in and out of the show, onto different band members, onto different positions. You know, obviously we're not talking about gobo looks here, but with an aura you can also zoom in pretty tight and get kind of a beam look on it if you want, if that's your jam. So that's what those are for. We've got more quantum profiles up at the very top of these pipes, which we're going to talk about how you hang these and how to do that safely as we get on later on. But I've got those so that I can do more aerial effects. I can get over top of the band with gobos and get over top of them and have gobos running through them, which is a really cool look if you're working with certain types of acts. You can't do it with everybody, but in this case it's going to work great, I think. And then I've got X4 bar 20s. Coffee sip. All right, the X4s are doing a very specific thing for me, so I'm going to turn them on. I'm going to go to the top view here so you guys can see what they're doing. So I want to be able to get more color, so I can blow out color, get more color silhouettes behind this band. But the other thing that I want to be able to do is really get a good focus on excuse me, the act. So I can take these two X4s here, I can tilt them in and point them at my drummer, boom, and I can really hammer home that we're focusing on our drummer right now. I can take these guys here and I can either side light tag our drummer, or I can hit each of these guys. I can use one on our guitar player here, and this one on our bass player here, or guitar player here, or whatever it happens to be. And then these guys here on the outside, I'm able to get pointed right at our singer and knock that out. So we're able to get extra points of focus from different places on our band principles. So in the case of Sweettalker, our band principals are 3 up in the front and our drummer. The way it was described to me when we were talking to David is that for a bigger show, they'll have a 3-piece horn section, and then they'll have a keyboard player. And sometimes they'll have a percussionist, and sometimes they'll do all kinds of crazy things. They're a really dope band in that way. They've got a lot of guys who will step in and play with them and do some really cool things. But in this case, I'm worried about lighting the money. So I've got a singer to take care of, and that gets taken care of by these 2 guys on the outside. I've got these 2 guys here, they get taken care of by these, and then I got a drummer, and they get taken care of by these. And you can swap and mix and match and move them around all you want. That's the beauty of having X4 bars. You can tilt things and move fixtures around and do cool stuff with X4s. X4s are awesome. To respond to Chris, I saw for your eye candy fixtures, X4 bars and JDCs. You know, I don't even consider those eye candy and effect fixtures anymore. I think those are just standards. You know, it's crazy how popular those fixtures have gotten. And it's not even that unreasonable. Like, they're popular for a really good reason. They're phenomenal. JDC ones I use all the time because it is a hybrid. It's 2 fixtures in 1. I get a really, really bright strobe fixture. The quality of the random strobe may be a bit sus, but you know, you can work with that. And then you get a great big LED color, you know, block fixture that also has a tilt on it, which is phenomenal. For OAR last year, we decided to forego using wash fixtures altogether, and we just went with JDC ones up in the hung truss, and that was how we got our colors. It was fantastic. We had a great time with it, and man, we were doing, you know, some pretty large shed shows, you know, Red Rocks and the like. And I had 14 JDC ones up in my different lighting trusses. And that was too many. I don't think I ever let those things go above 60% ever. It was bonkers how bright those things get. Which was a lot of fun, frankly, to have that overkill, you know, when you're messing around at the beginning of the day and you're just, you know, the rig's up and you're making looks in it and you think it's neat and you can just destroy worlds with those. And then I had a bunch of X4s as well to do the light curtains, to do focuses, you can do the little beams, you can do a big block, a big wall of light. You know, it's crazy. Once again, if you want to see, you know, the X4 bar used in the best way possible, look at anything Tobias Rylander's ever done, because he's the king of this, and he does such a good job. Oh my god, he makes X4 bars just scream. It's fantastic. Okay, so we've got, let's get back into this. I'm off task here. So we've got our fixtures here. That's cool. We've got our band. This is more or less the lighting plan that I want to roll with. Now that said, we may want to add one other thing, and this is going to depend on your show. So in the case of Sweettalker, in this really specific case, because I know what we're dealing with a drummer who has a fairly small kit. You know, Chris Eaton is a guy who, he doesn't play like a big giant 7-piece kit with a million cymbals. He's always kept things fairly simple, and God love him for that. He makes drums sound huge. I begged and begged and begged Chris for years to play in my bands when we were in college. And he never did, which was a smart decision on his part. And then with our bass player and our guitar players, you know, this is a pop band. They're not bringing out stacks and stacks and stacks of cabs and big amps and all this stuff. You know, they're probably going to be running relatively small amps and pedals. So we don't have to worry about backline so much. Backline's going to be fairly small. What we do want to worry about is audio. It is, in this case, we're looking at what, a 8-piece band. So audio is going to have to be reasonably substantial. You know, I can see, let's call it 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, probably 24 channels easily. So, you know, maybe let's be charitable and say that they're going to max out like, you know, a Midas M32. And I know that that's not that's not money tour fixtures. But in this case, you know, this is a fairly free-floating band. And, you know, their rigs don't have to be super, 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 super tight. So, I mean, we can even say, you know, they're working with the small end of the Midas Pro series. So we know that consoles and backline and audio gear are not going to be... We know that backline is going to be fairly reasonable in terms of size and scope. So we can kind of get away with adding some more fixtures in here. And the other thing that I want to add in here, because again, you're not going to have everything... You're not always going to have the ability to do this, and so you want to make sure you have it with you, is the ability to light up this backdrop. You can see it right here because I've got ambient light turned on pretty bright. But if I turn ambient light down, come on, ambient light slider. There you go. Uh-oh. No backdrop. Backdrop, go bye-bye. So we need to have some way to light that backdrop. And again, because they're amazing, and because companies have a lot of them, I think we should go X4s because it gives us a lot of options. We can light the backdrop, and then also when we don't need to be looking at the backdrop necessarily, we can turn it and do that big old, you know, X4 wall up and behind the band. So we're going to select our X4 layer. We're going to go to our library browser. X4 bar 20. So when you're, especially with WYSIWYG, and you're searching through the library browser, if you don't know, like 100%, what it is that the library browser calls a fixture, I would recommend searching for it actually manually first and going through the manufacturer and finding the manufacturer and scrolling until you see it, because that's how they type it. For example, I'll show you this real quick. If you wanted to find, for example, the SGM Q7, great strobe, great LED strobe fixture. You know, some guys have them, some guys don't, but we're going to say Q7. Uh-oh, not there at all. But if you know that if you do Q space dash space 7, oh, then you got a ton of stuff. And look, there's the Q7. So, as I said before, unless you know exactly what the fixture is called in WYSIWYG's library, search for it the first time, find out what it says, then you can put it over here in a, I don't know what they call this, a shortcut. Yeah. So find a fixture shortcut, and you can do it there. So when you find it the first time, right click, create shortcut, boom, impression X4 bar 20. So now I don't have to go through that database at all. I can just go over here, right click, insert on floor. So we're going to double check our Z coordinate again. We're still at 6 feet. Good news. Right click, insert on floor. And now you run into a problem in WYSIWYG in particular. So WYSIWYG is pretty decent at putting fixtures on the floor, getting things where you want it. But depending on how you set your grid and depending on how you set things, you may not want to do things the regular way. I will show you what I mean. So we're going to go up here, scroll up so that we can get the whole view of that backdrop area. There we go. And so we want to put them all along here. And so far, that looks like it could be decent. So then you would place it here, place it here, place it here, and all the way back, but it's never going to line up right, because we are currently working in feet and inches, and I've got my grid at a 6-inch increment because that's what works easiest for me. However, the X4 bar is a 1 meter fixture. So we need to be able to work with that. So I'm going to show you how we do that. We're going to go to options, document options, draw defaults, units we're going to set to metric. Intervals, I'm going to set it to a 0.5 meter, so 0.5 meter. Cool. And I haven't changed the Z coordinate. I'm going to have to move it later, but that's fine. So we will place this now. As you can see, as I place along the grid, it fits exactly in those grid squares for me. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to offset it by 0.5 meter so that the center doesn't have a fixture in it, because that's how you get odd numbers of fixtures, and I don't like odd numbers of fixtures. So I'm just going to drop all these guys down and out along the way. And there's a little bitty gap there, but that is fine. There's going to be enough light to more than handle that. And there you go. We'll hit F to finish or pay respects. And now we got these fixtures. And let's see how many we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 12 X4 bars. So immediately start thinking in your head, space, space. As we discussed at the very beginning of this, we are planning on using this rig with the notion that Christy Lights is going to be our vendor. Christy Lights puts X4s in the case 4 per. And that road case is 2 feet deep, 2 feet high, 4 feet wide. So you need to be thinking about that immediately, because we just added 3 cases to our rig. That is a lot of road case in bus trailers. So, you know, you've got to be always thinking about how you're going to compromise there, how you're going to make that work. We're going to have a lot of road cases on this show. Just based on the fact that we're not using pre-hung, we're not using pre-rig truss, we're doing pipes, and we're building it from scratch every time. So we're going to be thinking about ways as we go along, as we go through our design process, where we can eliminate cases where possible. And I'm going to show you some, and we'll just talk about some neat tricks on how to do that. For example, we're going to put cables in our fixture cases as much as we possibly can. So in the case of this X4 bar group here, I'm gonna put the socket pegs for that line, all the looms, all the everything for this line of fixtures in the case with the X4 bars. That's so I can do a lot of, you know, I can keep everything cut down and I can keep all my numbers down. And also, when I push those 3 cases upstage and say, hey guys, here are the X4 bars, line them up off the center line we have chalked on the deck. You know, there's 12 of them. It goes, you know, fixture 501 through 512. Start with 6 and 7 in the center and work your way back. And, you know, all the cables you need to connect them are there in the cases. That's a great thing, because then you can if you get a couple of stagehands who kind of know their business, or who at least have some experience putting, you know, hanging fixtures, which a lot of them, you know, will. That's why they're working there. You can say, hey, everything you need to do this is in there, and you can let them go. And you just, you know, you keep an eye on them every now and again, make sure they're not doing something totally bonkers. But you're able to give them a lot of direction. Quick question from Evgeny. Is it possible in this program to draw a conditional line and distribute the fixtures evenly on it? Yes, you can distribute across a line. That is something that, I'm not very good at doing. I haven't quite figured out the way it works best for me yet. I should play with it more. But it's a little bit funky in that it doesn't respect the length of a fixture. So you need to know what your fixture dimensions are if you're going to be putting them side by side. Now, if you're saying I've got 12 fixtures and I just want to have them spread out evenly across this thing, and I don't care if there's space in between them, yes, absolutely, and I would have done it in this case. In the situation that I've got right here, where I want these fixtures to be side by side by side by side, and, like, you know, I would go so far as to actually engage the little pin to align them so that they're perfectly aligned on my deck. In that case, it's easier for me in this case to just change my draw defaults and put them on the floor manually. Jason Giaffo has entered the chat. Oh man, what's going on, Jason? Miss you, dude. We're gonna change our draw defaults back to Imperial. 6-inch grid because that's what I did before. Cool. So when we put these fixtures on the floor, we noticed that our missing coordinate, our Z coordinate, had changed back to 0. So we got to correct for that. We're going to select all these X4 fixtures here. Z coordinate is 0. That's not true. 6 feet. Now they're on the floor where they're supposed to be. So if I go back and look, you can see them right there. There's my X4s. And if I lose the pipe so I don't select the wrong ones by mistake, select our X4s. There they are. Cool. Now I've got them in the show, and I'm able to move them around and manipulate them. Let's go into design view just so you can get a look-see at that. So we're going to take our quantum profiles that are currently on, and let's off them. And we're going to select our X4 bars. Select fixture by type, X4 bars. Full. Quick tip for WYSIWYG in design mode. You can see I hit full. You can see here I'm at full intensity, but nothing is happening yet. With WYSIWYG, you have to give it color first. You can see that our color is currently black. That's why they're not on. So I have to turn it on. We'll set it to narrow focus so that I'm able to, ooh, hey there, buddy, focus. Turn off fanning. There we go. We'll select home. So now I'm able to move them around. So I can get onto my backdrop and then widen it up a little bit. So now I can get my backdrop in play. But I can also narrow it and send it out over the guys. And you can do cool effects with it. And you do all kinds of interesting things. Oh, I've still got focus on, don't I? I don't know where that button is. Whatever. But anyways, I can send it out over the act. There we go. And I'm able to get these looks too out of the same fixture. So we're using multiple fixtures for using one fixture to get multiple things done. So I'm going to home it. I'm going to off it because I don't want it blocking up space in my design mode. We'll go back to CAD. Seems silly that WYSIWYG doesn't support black output. I'm not sure what you mean by black output, Jason, but you know, yeah, this whole thing is kind of silly sometimes. You just have to know that when you hit at full, it doesn't automatically change you to white unless it's a fixture that doesn't have LED colors in it. So if you take any discharge fixture, any fixture that where the color is not in the light source itself, then it works just fine. It works just the way you expect it to. So like on our quantum profiles, it's an LED engine with CMY mixing. That just turns on. Great. Anyways, we're gonna go back to our CAD here. One of the things we're gonna do, because you have to do it a million times a day, save, Control S, and pray to the gods of WYSIWYG that it doesn't crash on you while you're saving, and then you lose everything, and then I look real silly on stream. But, you know, when don't I look real silly on stream? So, I feel like this is a halfway decent design package for me. I'll turn it back on so you can see everything. So we kind of cover all the basics here with this. We've got wash fixtures to light up the money. We've got profiles to show off and get some aerial effects. And like David said when we talked to him last week, he likes a bunch of gobos. He likes aerial effects. Not too much haze, but we'll get around that. And you can always just kind of nudge him in and don't tell him about it. There's a lot of tricks for that. We'll talk about that. We've got X4s acting as battens to light up the backdrop. And a thing when you make these designs like this, you know, you're gonna get these designs. You're gonna give it to your vendor, and your vendor's gonna give you a budget. He's gonna tell you, okay, it's gonna cost X dollars a week. And you're gonna go, okay, cool. And you're gonna forward that to your production manager, and your production manager's gonna go, oh no, we can't possibly do this. And so then you back off a little bit and you make changes. So I'm putting X4 bars down in my design in that upstage backdrop truss. I know personally that if it comes down to it, I don't have to have that wall going out over the band. So I can always change these fixtures out for any kind of generic batten. If I have to, and that's fine. You're not always going to get what you want, like the philosopher Jagger says. So just kind of be ready to make compromises, but also be ready to know what hills are worth dying on. You want to do specific things, but you don't always have to use the gear in your head to get there. I'll be doing a video real soon about exactly what I mean by that. I'm in the middle of working on getting all the parts and pieces for that. So we've got our fixtures here. And I know there's a few guys still in chat and a few guys who do this for a living as well as me. So, Chris, Evgeny, and Jason, if there's something you see that just like, oh man, why would you do that? Speak now or forever hold your peace, because this is what we're going to do. One thing I do want to do, I have made the decision that I think that arc is a little bit too close to the band. So we're going to select all of this. Control M to move. We're going to select a grid point somewhere that works for us. We're going to select here. And we're going to keep it on that 0. And we're just going to move it upstage a little. Cool. And so when I bring the band back in, hey, everybody's back. So you're still going to get the same look. You're just going to get a little bit of space between the band and the light package so that it's not so crowded on deck. Another thing to think about when you're planning designs on the floor like this is you want to think about, just like when you're doing designing, a house or anything else, you want to think about ingress and egress. You want to think about ways these guys can get on and off stage. There's enough room here with these floor fixtures that they could just pop off the floor and walk around and walk over them. Auras aren't that big. They're not going to trip. But then there's also this big empty gap here so that these guys can get on and off stage. You got plenty of space for our guys to get around this way. You got plenty of space for our guys to walk in. Be thinking about that stuff, because at the end of the day, it's important. If the band can't get on stage safely and quickly, then what was the point of putting on a light show if you're going to trip a guy and embarrass him? Don't do that. So we've got our show here. I'm thinking this is going to be a decent starting point. And one of the things that's going to happen is we're going to make changes as we go, as we get deeper into this. I'm not committing now. Nothing is ever committed. Besides me after hour 14 of programming. I deserve to be committed at that point. But I don't want to say this is the design, I'm going to stick to this forever. If something needs to change, I'm going to change it. And we'll plan and deal with things as they go then. So one thing I want to do is, you can see here's a WYSIWYG thing and a tip for anybody. You can see the tails here. That is where they say the cables are coming out of. Now we know on an X4 that's not exactly how it looks in the box. But I know that I want to have my whips upstage whenever possible, because this is going to be a lane here and I don't want to just have stuff stick around. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to Control R to rotate. I'm going to select my center line here and I'm going to flip them around. Hey. So now the whips are all facing the way I want them to. With the auras, I like having them facing upstage like that. I know it can be a bit funky. A lot of guys will want to have them going off stage. In my case, with an aura, it's not that big a deal, and I'm fine with how that sits. We'll go look at all the rest, and we'll make sure that all these are in places we're comfortable with. So you can see we've got the whips facing stage right on everything. Nope, that way. That's stage right for the case of what we're looking at. you can see we've got all our whips stage right. We got the whips here facing off stage right. Whips here facing off stage right, except for the X4 bars again. And one of the things that I like is to have all the whips facing the same way. That gets me two things. One, that gets me some uniformity in terms of making looms, you know, when I'm prepping the show, but it also lets me, if I'm teching or if I have a tech, I want the windows, I want the little LED screen on the fixture to be facing stage right, because that's typically where your lighting tech is going to be. And at a glance, my tech can look up from, you know, sitting over there, you know, paying attention to the show, and he can see all the fixtures that may be blinking, maybe aren't receiving DMX, or one is acting a little funky and the screen's going wonky. And my tech can see that. So you want to be able to plan for that as well. So the way I'm going to do that in this case, I'm going to take away all the fixtures except the X4 bars. I'm going to take away the band. I'm going to select all these guys here. Yeah! We're going to hit Alt-Enter to go into fixture properties. And now we start playing around. We're going to go to fixture. Here we go. Pan, tilt, spin. We're going to try this. We're going to try pan of 180. See if it'll flip it. Will it? Yes, it will. Cool. Now the whips and windows are all facing the way I want them to go. And again, do some research on your fixtures so that you know what faces which way. Because that can burn you. And burn you bad. We don't want you to get burned. We want you to have a great show. So there is... Zoom. There's our lighting package. That's a lot of stuff to shove into a couple of trailers, but we're gonna find a way to make it happen. That's the deal. So we're gonna go through and start working on paperwork. We're about an hour in. I'm gonna take 5 minutes, get myself a drink of coffee, a drink of water. You guys should do the same. We're gonna be jumping into starting to plan for paperwork. That's gonna be our next thing. And I know that it goes, oh, paperwork's such a boring thing. Who wants to watch a video about paperwork, and who wants to learn about doing paperwork for tours? It's important. It is super, super, super freaking important that you get your paperwork and you get your planning, you get your organization right. Because a badly organized show is not going to be a show that goes well. You might get lucky and be able to seat your pants your way through, you know, a gig like that. But you're not going to get through a 3-4 month tour of, you know, bad organization. So do it now, and you'll be able to be successful on the road and not have to be trying to plan out and scratching your head looking at a fixture. It was like, oh, that's 201. Where does 201 go again? My paperwork says it goes all the way stage left in this, but that doesn't seem right. Screw it. I'm going to put it here. Oh, that address is wrong. We'll just change the addresses as we go during the gig. No. You want to be as organized and as efficient as possible, so that way you can hand this rig over to your stagehands at the show day and say, hey guys, here's how it goes together. You're going to do this. You're going to put this here. You're going to put this exactly here. It's going to go like this. You're going to plug these cables into it, and then we're going to have a great show. And then they're going to do it, and you will. So we're going to take just a break, and then we'll jump into that. Chat is open. I'm still hanging around, so I'm just going to give my voice a little rest and get myself a drink of coffee. And we'll kick it in. So here you go, guys. All right, we're going to jump back into it. What's up, Tommy? Good to see you here, man. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching, man. Appreciate you guys. So we had been talking for the first hour-ish of this stream about getting some more of the design stuff done. And we did a really slow or a really quick version of this design. And so far, I'm digging where we're at. Everything's going to be open to change, but we're going to be rolling with this for now, just so that we have something to continue working on. And as we decide we want to make changes. And by the way, if we want to make changes, post changes and ideas in chats and comments. Since this isn't going to be a thing I'm not taking this on the road. This is not the real design for this band. I would do something completely different for them. But we're using it as a template and as an idea. So if you have some ideas, suggestions, comments about what it is we're designing here, please throw it in there. You don't need to give away your super secrets. Obviously we all have our own magic tricks and, special sauce that we like to put in our designs. But I want you guys to be a part of this too. So we're going to jump back in and we're going to start looking at paperwork and planning and making sure we're organized. So let's hop in and get that done. So we're gonna pull up our main screen now. And here's our design as we did it at the end of last week and the beginning of this. Here's our isometric view. Here's our fixture counts, or our fixture, as it's gonna be in the 3D world. In this design, just for everybody's sake, the strike ones I currently have attached to the pipe. They will not actually go on the pipe if I was doing it in the real world. The reason for this is I'm just pointing them straight up. I would put them on the floor. However, WYSIWYG is a little bit funky about putting fixtures on the floor and then moving them around and tilting them, especially when they're not automated fixtures. So it's easier in WYSIWYG to put it at the very bottom of the pipe and then just point it up, and then we'll make a note. It's going on the floor, guys. That's kind of the plan there. So now let's start looking at data and let's start looking at how we're going to make this thing go. So we're going to pull up our data tab and we're going to pull up spreadsheet. Well, actually what we're going to do is we're going to come down here to patch. Patch is going to be our friend because we're able to see a lot of things. I don't know what all this universe stuff is here. We're just going to pull up the MXA so it gets blanked out. We're going to pull this all the way down because we're not talking about patch right now. Right now, we're just talking about numbers and organization, which is going to be our deal. So we're going to start with our profiles. I'm going to turn off every fixture except for the profiles. Because I had the X-Force selected, they won't turn off, so I'll do that so I can't see them. So here we go. Here are our quantum profiles. I'm going to go to front view so we can get a better look at them. These are the quantum profiles that I have in the show. And for me, in my show, and the way I organize, if you watched any of the long stream that I did a while back and any of the subsequent videos that were clipped from it, my tour fixtures are always in the 10,000 series. The reason for that is because I'm not going to be clicking on them that much and trying to type them in by number when I'm on the show site. So all my clone stuff that I pull from and clone from to the house rig, that's all in the 20,000. So 20101, 20201, etc., etc. The tour is 10101, 10201, etc. And then the house rig that I'm cloning into every day, that's where 101, 201, 301 is, because those are the numbers I'm going to be typing on a day-to-day basis to try and work with and try and make right. So to that end, we know we are going to start numbering things. I always number my profiles as my 100s. So we're going to hit Q for the quick tool. It's going to pop a bunch of things up. General details, all this stuff here. I'm not going to touch patch right now. The reason for that is I'm not in a position to patch just yet. So we're going to go piece by piece through it. So let's start with our unit number. Unit number is the one I like to use. Spot you can also use, but that's kind of funky. Channel, we don't really talk about channels in MA world, aside from keeping them separated in terms of like show file organization in your patch view. So we're just going to not do that. We're just going to use unit 10101 is going to be our first fixture. Hang on 1 second while I make a hell of a lot of noise. Yikes. Okay. So we know what we're picking. 10101, cool. Okay. So now we can just start numbering things. The way I like to do is visually top to bottom. I know there's a lot of guys who there's a lot of different ways of going about it. A lot of guys will number their fixtures. You know, front of house truss is where they start and they work their way upstage. Some guys start upstage and work their way down. I prefer to do it by what I'm looking at when I'm looking at the show from front of house. So in the case of this, I'm looking at front of house. This is going to be the first one. These are my line here. So I'm thinking, you know, left to right, top to bottom. So we're going to have 10101, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So now I've numbered these fixtures. Great. Awesome. I'm going to hit F to finish and be good there. That is the game plan, and we're just going to keep doing that for all of the fixtures in our show. So we've done our profiles. We're going to look at auras next. And it's going to be the same thing except for the floor washes. So in this case, just in this case, because I'm not using beams on this show, I want to number things a bit more organized for their utility, even though I'm using the same fixtures for a lot of stuff. So here's how it's going to go. We're going to take the Q button. We're going to use unit again. We're going to do 10201. And 201 is my beam fixture in my way of doing things. So for me, spots and profiles are the 100s, beams are 200s, washes are 300s, and so on down the line. Since I don't have beams necessarily, I'm going to use 102s for these auras here that are up in the air. So we're going to 6, 7, and 8. Cool. So that covers these guys here. We're going to change a little bit. We're going to go to our top plan view. Scroll so we can see these guys. We're going to hit Q again, because you can just hit Q if you're still going. Like if you're already in Quick Tool, just hit it again and you can change to the other one. So we're going to hit 10301 now, and that's going to be our floor washes. So we're going to go here, 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 and here. Now I'm going around the arc with my numbering so that it all works in a line. So if I end up doing stuff like, if I end up doing effects with these, the effects are gonna work and look symmetrical in the way I want it, instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's just an easy way to organize, and that's gonna be that for me. So now we're gonna go to LEDs, which is usually my 400 series and 500 series. So I have LED and LED2. So we're gonna switch to our X4s. Clear out the auras so we don't see them. So, quick tool, 10401. I'm going to use the 400 series as my LED 1, and these are going to be my X4s that are up on the pipe. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cool. Got that part done. I'm going to go to quick tool again and have my 500 series, 501. And that's going to be these guys here. So we're just going to go through. And I'm sorry about that little ding that happens in WYSIWYG. I don't know how to turn that off. If I have a WYSIWYG expert in the chat, please tell me how to turn off that annoying bong sound when I'm patching and selecting, because it happens a lot when you do a lot of fixtures on a show. So we've done that. Now we're going to do the strike ones. Turn off the X4 so I don't have to look at them. Hit Q for quick. And we're going to do this at 601, 10601. Now here's the thing. You know, I know a lot of guys are thinking to themselves like, oh gosh, there's so many numbers. You know, why use such big numbers? Well, it doesn't matter. They're just numbers, right? So in my... if I'm doing like, you know, if I'm doing paperwork, it doesn't matter what the number is. You just read that number. Oh, it's 10101. Okay. 10604. Okay. Who cares? You know, it doesn't matter. So we're going to just continue on our way. 7, 8, 9, and 10. F to finish. Control S to save. Save, save, save some more. Always save. Always be saving. And then we have numbered our entire show. That is awesome. So now we've got, if we go to our spreadsheet view down here, spreadsheet, you can see I've got a unit number for everything. Here they are for the quantum profiles. Nope, we're going to go by unit number. Thank you. Just make that a little smaller so I can see what's up here. So we've got our unit number matches to a quantum profile. And you can see it already knocks the floor position fixtures. You don't necessarily have to have that. You can turn them off and whatever. It doesn't affect me in this case because everything's on the ground, so I don't care. And then as you're looking at it, you can also see the number of data channels. And the number of data channels is where we go next. Because maybe we don't want to have everything in these modes. I just put them in whatever WYSIWYG says they start at. But sometimes you need to do different things to your, you know, you want all these fixtures have different modes and you want to make use of them. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go ahead and go back to our CAD view. This is the easiest way it works for me. We're going to go to front view and you're going to right click, select fixtures by type. And this is where we can select the entire groups of fixtures. So I'm going to select all of my quantum profiles. Alt Enter to go into fixture properties. And then you want to be looking through here. Control is where we're going next. No, not control. Sorry, options. Options is what we want. And you can select all the different modes of every fixture you've got, whether it's, you know, pan tilt speeds, modes, whatever the fixture happens to have is what we're going to work with. In this case, we're going to stick with 16-bit extended with pan tilt smooth. If you guys look in the doodly-doo down below, I've got a link to the video of the song, and we know that this song and this band isn't a fast band. I don't have to be worrying about big quick snaps and like, you know, super fast, you know, ballyhoos and all this kind of stuff. This band doesn't do that. So I can get away with using the smooth pan tilt speed, which is good because it'll be smooth, and smooth is good. So we've got that done and selected. We're going to select our next fixture down the line. We're going to go with the auras. So you selected all the auras. Options. Now we can look at all these guys here. We're going to go with extended because we can in this situation. You know, we're not putting a ton of fixtures on the floor. We're not going to be, you know, maxing out parameters on a console or anything like that. So we can just keep everything the normal way. Color mode, that's going to be a personal preference. Whether you want RGB, extended, or raw. Now, the good news is that doesn't affect your patch channels. So you can kind of make changes to this as you go, and you look at it in the real world when you get into production rehearsals and go, oh man, RGB color mode sucks. I want to use raw, or oh, raw sucks. I want to use extended, or oh, extended is dumb. I want to use RGB. Doesn't matter. So we're going to go with extended just because we can. Cool. Now we're going to talk about the X4 Bar 20. This is the one that can get you in a lot of trouble. Because it's one of these gigantor multi-instance fixture dudes that can really, really, really F up your day if you do it wrong. For my money, if I go into options, I don't use standard mode. I prefer single pixel, high resolution. I know it's the highest thing they got. It's a buttload of channels, but that gets me high resolution control of every pixel in these lines. So I can do effects. I can do great big sweeps. I can do all the stuff. If I was just using it as like, if I know that for what I'm doing, I'm just using it to throw up a color, I'll put it in standard or compressed or whatever, you know, because I'm just dealing with, you know, color, tilt, and zoom. And I don't care. But in this case, we're going to go with single pixel high resolution. Hit OK. So now I've got that in the right mode. And lastly, we're going to go to strike one. If you haven't worked with the strike one, the modes in them are kind of funky sometimes. I happen to prefer 4 and 5 channel if you're doing stuff. So we'll stick to, you know what? We'll stick to 4 channel. I know that there's, we'll do 4 channel for now, but I know that MA and WYSIWYG have kind of a funky thing going with the way they work with a strike one. And we'll be able to change this on the fly. And if we need to make changes at that, we can. So you know what? For now, we'll put it in like holy crap mode. We'll put it in 6 channel. And if we have to go down to make things work simpler, we don't end up getting screwed on like, oh no, we had them in 4 channel and we got to add 2 to everything. And now we got to rearrange our whole patch. We'll start patching at our highest values. And so that if we go down in count, it doesn't hurt us. So we'll hit OK there. Okay. So now we are going to save because saving. So now we've got the organization figured out before we get into patch. So we're going to get into our patch with the patch mode in data. And here we can see all of our things. Now, here is where you can be smart and creative about how you patch, or you don't have to be. There's multiple schools of thought on this. It all depends on how you are going to be outputting your DMX across your show. In my case, I almost always, when I can, and I will, you know, fight and fight. Excuse me. The weather's changing on us here in Nashville, so nobody's healthy. Don't worry, don't have the Rona. Feel fine otherwise. I'm just a sneezy, coughy little sucker. Anyways, if you're outputting DMX from your console and you're going straight from console out of those DMX ports in the back of the console down a copper snake to your fixtures, you're limited in terms of what the what universes you're able to output. In my case, I almost never do that. I reserve the outputs on the back of my console for the house package, for the house rig, if they need hard DMX. So I will, for my case, use another sip of coffee. But in my case, what I will use is I will use Ethernet and I will use streaming ACN and ArtNet, depending on what I need to do that for that particular situation. But almost always I'll use streaming ACN. And I'll send streaming ACN to a node that I keep off the side of the stage in like a data rack or something like that. And that's where my outputs will come from. In the case of Christie Lights, I know that they use a Pathport Octo node. So I know I have 8 outputs on every node. I will typically be carrying a node. Use anything over ArtNet. Very true. ArtNet I reserve for video content and effects and stuff that has to use ArtNet. But for lighting and sending DMX across network, it's almost always SACN. So I know that using our gear, and this is why knowing your vendor is important. I know that using my particular vendor, I'm going to be getting a Pathport Octanode. I'm going to be getting 2 of them. One as a backup in case everything fails, in case something fails and dies on the road and I have to switch it out. But I know that I've got 8 outputs to work with. So let's think about how we can maximize that usage. And you're going to do that when you're doing the patch. So we're going to start in this case because your patch number doesn't matter. Again, it's all arbitrary, when you're working in the digital world. So like, I know a lot of guys who are willing to die on the hill that you start universe 1 at your front of house truss, and that's the end of it. Screw that. Start wherever seems logical to you, because at the end of the day, you're the guy who's paying attention to what the patch is. It doesn't matter for anything besides your personal organization and are you getting the right DMX channels to where they need to go. So in our case, we're going to start with the first universe. I'm going to start up here, or the first several universes, because I know what we're going to be doing here. But first things first, I believe I have some other stuff. Yeah, I have some other stuff in here that I need to get rid of. So we're going to go to... Yep. Oh, that is... Okay, that is my house rig. Or my clone rig. Yep, there's my clone rig. All patched in. Click on Universe 1. Here's where I've got a whole bunch of random stuff going on. I was working on a show before we started here, so we're gonna work our way down. Unpatch all. 3, unpatch all. Check and chat to any. Let's make sure I'm still here. So we're gonna keep going through here. Unpatch all. Unpatch universe 4. Unpatch universe 5. Unpatch universe 6. And none of this matters for... I'm doing a little cleanup on my file. That's all I'm doing here. Okay. Yes. Oh, I still got more. Still got more. There we go. No more patch. Now, this is a strategy I use when I'm running a patch out. The houses you typically work in, if you're taking these things on tour, because their venue is what they know, and it's what they're planning on running, almost all the time, whether you're networked or not, the house patch is going to start at Universe 1. And they have theirs, they lay it out in a million different ways. If we're really lucky, each truss gets a universe. If we're unlucky, they do some wacky stuff. They're going to do what they're going to do. But we know that they're going to use their own universes, and they're going to start at Universe 1 because that's their deal. This is their venue we are visiting. And if my stuff is Universe 1 and their stuff is Universe 1 and I have to patch into their rig, you could really easily in your head say, okay, no problem. Well, I'll just add 10 to everything that they have. So 11, Universe 1 is going to be 11. In my head. And that's fine, and you can do that. But if you have a house LD or a house tech who's not super familiar with how that kind of patching works, they can get super freaked out and confused when you start just adding 10 to their numbers and go, whoa, 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 we're not universe 11, we're universe 1. And I know it's an easy thing for you to say, don't worry about it, I got it. And just, move on. But in these situations, it's just easier to patch yourself into a different place. So in my case, the way I like to do it is I like to leave the first 10 universes for the house. And I'll patch my stuff at 11 because it doesn't matter. It's just going to make it easier for the house techs to be thinking about things if they need to help me, if they need, if I need to ask them questions about their rig, just make it easy for them because you've got the time and you've got the planning on your side already handled. So we're going to start at Universe 11. Universe 11, I want to start with patching my X4 bars up here. So we're going to go back to the quick tool, hit Q. We're going to turn off the unit number. You can totally bone yourself in WYSIWYG by leaving these things clicked on because a lot of times it'll be minimized and you don't know it's there. And then, oh crap, there it is. So we're going to turn off the unit number and we're going to go to patch. And you can set it to auto increment. You can set it to custom increment. You can do all kinds of things. We're going to start with 11.1. Okay. Pow. So now we can just start patching. 1. You can see how it's going down. So we know we got 89 channels in each of these fixtures. So we know we're probably going to be running out of channels on a universe real quick. I believe the number is like 5 before it goes, hey, I'm angry. Do we want to create a new universe? Yes, I do. It's going to pull up the thing again for the quick fixture tool. I'm going to set 12.1. I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to go, oh, wait, you haven't done universe 12 yet. There it is. Do you want to create it? Yes, I do. And then we just move on our way. And then, oh, time to create a new universe. 13.1. Okay, do I want to create it? Yes, I do. There we go. And I'm going to hit F to finish. So I have now done the backdrop upstage fixtures on the floor. These are the X4 bars. This one here, this last one is patched at 1390. So there's a ton of spare channels on that universe. But I don't care. Those universes, as far as I'm concerned, are now closed to me. They are closed to me because I know that I can send 3 lines up there and patch that whole thing. And I don't have to be thinking, oh, I got to finish populating out this number 13. Because there's all of these spare channels on it. They're not spare channels. It's just open spaces. It's just boxes to put things, and you can have as many boxes as you want. So all we got to do is be worried about parameter count in the context of our show. What we do got to think about is our output is the number of outputs we're using. So, like I said, I know we're using the octo node. So I know I've got 8 outputs at side stage to worry about. So as long as I'm using less than 8 physical outputs from my node, I could care less what they're called. I could care less what their numbers are. I could care less where they go. I need to be thinking about my cable planning. So what I don't want to have to do is to either get a DMX splitter at my side stage to try and send somewhere else in the show, or what would be worse in my case is to run another DMX cable out of this fixture down into the other rig to do something else. What I want to have happen is I'm going to have my data racks over here somewhere, and I want to have one loom, one sockapex, and the 3 datas that's just going to make a straight beeline across this deck. Pow. And that's where they're going to be. I don't want to have anything more than that. So for the sake of keeping things clean on stage, we're going to say we're done with these universes, so we don't have to deal with them again, so that they are separate and they're off doing their own thing. So we're going to move on. So now we can start thinking about how many universes is it going to take to do the rest of our show. I know I want to run one cable down here, knock all these out, and then have that same cable go across and knock all these out, so that I have a clean line between the arc of those pipes and the rest of the downstage. So I'm going to start again at universe 14, 14.1. It's going to make a new domain. Yes. And we are going to use universe 14 for these guys here. Now, in the case of this, where it doesn't matter what these patches are, because we already have fixture numbers for them. And so I'm not necessarily worried about what it's going to look like when I do, when I'm doing effects, when I'm selecting fixtures. It's really just about making sure I know where it's going to go. In this case, because we have already gone around the loop, I'm going to do the same thing. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Cancel. We are done. So now I have burned through universe 14 as far as I'm concerned. Yes, there's a bunch more channels. I've only used 200 on the whole thing. But I'm not touching universe 14 again because I don't want to have to run a DMX cable across this path. This is what I mean by when you're planning out your stuff, be thinking about everything all the time, and you're going to need to make these changes. But the more you know about how it works, you can plan for it ahead of time so that you don't get hosed. So we've done that patch. Save. Absolutely. Always save. Cool. Now that we've done that, we can go to work on the meat of this thing. I'm going to do something a little bit funky that, you know, may not be the quote unquote best way to do this, but it works for me. I want to do a thing where I change some groups around. So we're going to do this real quick. We're going to select all these fixtures here, new group in Sweettalker fixtures down at the bottom there. They're still going to be green because I like green for this. We're going to call this drop X4. And since it's Sweettalker, we're going to do Sweettalker drop X4. Okay. Then we're going to Alt Enter because I've got those fixtures selected. General, we're going to move them to Sweettalker drop X4. So that way I can lose them. Bye-bye. They're still there in the show, but they're not they're not in the gig. And then I'm going to do the same thing with these guys. I'm going to make another yellow group in Sweettalker fixtures. That is Sweettalker Sidewash. Okay. Select all these ores that I'm going to use as Sidewash. Move them into that Sidewash group. Hit OK. And now I can lose that group. So now, if I go to my front view, I can see my whole show. So now is when you want to think about how you're going to run cables. Excuse me. So if we're going to run cables, we know we're going to go up the pipe, down the pipe, up the pipe, down the pipe, up the pipe, down the pipe, up the pipe, down the pipe. But then we've also got these quantum profiles that are here alongside. Do we want to include those in our pipe looms? Would it be easier to just treat them as separate? And that's going to be a personal preference. I'm personally of the opinion that it doesn't matter. So I'm going to kind of separate. So for right now, I'm going to assume that this is, since I've burned 4 universes, I know I've got 4 universe outputs left to work with. And you can mix and match them and you can do all kinds of stuff, but I'm going to see how many I can get away with on one side over here. So again, because the patch is going to be dependent on a lot of things, and the way you patch an MA, I want to have in this case, I'm going to try and go for like a grouping, like a location grouping, but then I'm also going to go by fixture. So we're going to go to quick, and I'm going to 15.1. Okay. Do I want to create domain 15? Yes, I do. So I'm going to start 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll start there. We'll just do that one. Then I'm going to do, I know I'm going to have these guys. I know I'm going to have these guys. And I know I'm going to have these guys here. So that is 355 out of 512 channels. I bet I can get the next little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to 15. And I know this is annoying, but we're going to unpatch. And we're going to start over. Because I want to make sure I get it right. So we're going to do 15.1. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cool. And then we'll do 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 376. I think that's pretty decent. There's, you know, a pile of stuff that's going to be one universe. Cool. Now we'll go to 16. 16.1. Okay. Do I want to create? Yes, I do. So we're going to do the same thing. And again, we're going to organize by fixture type in the area we've decided to work. So we've decided to work in this area is going to be another universe of fixtures. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's our next universe worth of stuff. Cool. We've used up 410 channels. Great. We're under the count we want. 17.1 is going to be our next set. And we're just going to work in the same way. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Cool. That is patched. So now we have patched our entire show. We've done it in 7 universes. And that leaves us an eighth output of our octonode for if we end up being on some cool show where we get to rent in some extra gear or whatever. But the other thing is it gets us another universe, which means just a spare physical output. That's all I care about. I don't care about universe necessarily. It's just a spare physical output so that I can send a loom to smoke machines and hazers. So if I have a hazer, you know, here and here, I can run my looms there and jump over to that one. If I'm, you know, if I'm doing a show where it's an outdoor show and the wind is blowing real funky, I can move those around and I can put my hazer here or here or whatever. And I'm able to work with what I need to do without having to go, oh crap, how am I going to get out of that universe? That was the same universe and I can't do another output and blah, 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 blah. Nope. Solve that problem just by having a spare. So that is our patch. And then if I go to the spreadsheet, we look at our patch. So now we have the whole patch all taken care of. You can see we've got all our patch numbers here, and then it has universe and address. I don't know why WYSIWYG separates like that. Sometimes you want to, I guess. In my case, I don't care. So that is the show planned, patched, and we've started to think about cables. We'll start thinking about power the next time around because power is important, and we're going to get into power. I think today we're going to call that right here. We've been going for about an hour and 45 minutes. I'm going to hang around for a couple more minutes and do some jibber jabber with y'all. If you guys have any questions or, you know, you want to look at anything we've done, I'm here for you. So I'm going to take, you know, just a few more minutes with you guys, and then we'll call it a day. We can go about our Saturdays. They are separate. So when you export next month, you can deploy the merge patch to the separates. Yeah, if you need to do something like that, Chris, that's exactly why. I don't worry about that, and I'll describe why once we get into patching into MA. But yeah, I think more in terms of how I'm going to do paperwork. You know, if I needed to look at a list of fixtures that are in Universe 14, I could do that just by looking at 14 here. Or I could also just look over at the patch, and I know that I can do that with the patch. So it just doesn't affect my workflow. I know there's a lot of good reasons to do it, but it just doesn't affect me. Goodness gracious, I got a frog in my throat. All right. So now we've got our patched show. We've got all this just so we can get a vibe of what the whole thing looks like in the real world. We're going to add our band back in. And just because we're going to be using it, we're going to add our template truss back in too. So you can see the whole shebang together. So we're going to go to shaded view. I'm going to turn the ambient light up a little more so we can get a look at the whole freaking thing. And here's our whole show, guys. I've got 4 trusses worth of lighting up here in the top. If I can swing up, you can see I got a whole bunch of stuff. We talked about that in previous streams about making sure you have enough fixtures to do festivals, but not going super overboard. I don't need 200 of every type, but I want to have enough. And we've got our tour fixtures here on the floor. And if I remove the wings and main walls and main roof from our SAM 750, you can see here's what our show looks like. So this is what we're going to be programming with through the whole rest of this series. These are all going to be the aerial fixtures. This is our clone rig. This is a generic clone rig I built, but we're going to be able to use that to clone into almost anything we're ever going to see in life. And then our tour package. Excuse me. And like we talked about, you want to have the tour package to be able to do all the things that you can do with this and be able to get away with using none of it. So I'm going to show you both. As we get into programming, we're going to, like I talked about a little bit in one of the streams, I program first with just the tour package because I need the tour package to stand on its own if it has to. I'm not going to plan for, we'll just use washes up in the air and we'll just use gobos from the thing. Well, you may not have them. And I would rather have a show where if I have a really great house rig, it adds to my show instead of I'm going on tour and if I don't have a great house rig, I have to compromise on what parts of my show are going to get seen. So I'm going to go first when we get into MA. I'm going to program all the way through this tune with just the tour package and then add in the house on top as we go. What the F? My phone didn't notify me. Greetings, my dude. Currently cooking dinner. I'm sorry, Cedric. It might have been because we went live a little bit early and then a blah, blah, blah. You have the notification bell turned on the YouTube thing. I'm going to do the super YouTuber move. You know, make sure you hit like, subscribe, you hit the notification icon so you can see when I have new videos and new streams. Every week we're running these streams 10 a.m. Central Standard. That's -6 Zulu. And we're going to be rocking and rolling through this until we're done. And we've got a few extra surprises in store for you guys. When we start getting to the end of this, I'm starting to make a few phone calls and putting out some feelers, but we might have some extra special surprises at the end of this thing. Chris Goodman says, comment, like, subscribe, save. No, you see, you did it wrong. You save, then comment, like, subscribe, then save again, just in case. But I love it. I'm going to be putting that. You know what? We're going to do that now. Hold on. I'm going to do a little thing. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right, there you go, Chris. You hit the nail on the head. So now down in the thing, it's gonna say like, comment, subscribe, save. Yeah, so this is going to be our show. Cedric, I know you missed it, but this will be up as a VOD for later, so you can hop in and watch anything. And we are now at 11:45 my time. It's almost noon. That means it's almost lunchtime as far as I'm concerned. I'm a hungry boy. And we're going to call this one a day. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate the hell out of all of you. Next week, we're going to get into planning out cable paths and starting to work on patching into MA. And we're going to start working on our show file. So if you've been watching this for the last 3 weeks going, why the hell isn't he working in MA2 yet? I want to watch the MA2 videos. Next week is your spot, dude. We are going to start getting hardcore into MA. And we're going to jump in and we are going to start making this show. We're going to start looking at all the things you do in the background that are, dumb and boring, but are going to make programming so awesome and easy for you. Hope you guys have a great day. Happy programming, happy designing. Once again, if you're seeing stuff in the design of the show that you think is just stupid, or you're like, hey, it'd be really cool if we did X, please put it in the comments. Please put it in the chats. I want to know about it because, hey, there's nothing that says I can't learn from you guys, I'm just here walking through it because I think it's important for the really green dudes that are going to be out on the road. And I want to make sure the really green dudes who haven't been on a tour yet, and who were just starting to get bumped up into that LD position as we went on lockdown are going to be better prepared so that when we come out the end of this COVID-19 experience, we're going to come out swinging. And that's the deal. So have a great night, you guys, or a great day, whatever it happens to be. I know a lot of, if not most of you guys are over in Europe or beyond. But have a great day, night, guys. Always be rocking. Stay safe. Wear your mask. All that good stuff. Take care. Peace.